A nun who was searching for enlightenment made a statue of Buddha and covered it with gold leaf. Wherever she went, she carried this golden Buddha with her. Years passed, and still carrying her Buddha, the nun came to live in a small temple in a country where there were many Buddhas, each with its own particular shrine. The nun wished to burn incense before her golden Buddha. Not liking the idea of the perfume straying to others, she devised a funnel through which the smoke would ascend only to her statue. This blackened the nose of the golden Buddha, making it especially ugly.
There is nothing that limits a spiritual practice. There's nothing that will keep you from meditation, having a meditation that offers you a direct experience, than that of selfishness, pride. Possessiveness is not love. People possess each other. They try to possess each other. You possess thoughts, and thoughts possess you. And in our possession of our thinking, of our personalities, of people around us, we tear away at the fiber of our practice, our ability to concentrate and focus. When a student comes to me and they say, oh, I want to learn to meditate, I ask them a few questions. If I'm doing a session with them, trying to coach them in their meditation practice, I'll ask them a few very important questions about their anger, their relationship to it, and what they consider to be very important. And 9 out of 10 times, selfishness reveals its head. Selfishness has become immoral in our culture, in our society. Entitlement is immoral in our culture and in our society. And it makes it very difficult to meditate when you are thinking only about yourself. It would be impossible for me to do these programs or to meditate if I were only thinking about myself and what I wanted. Now, there is nothing I can say to you, absolutely nothing, to keep you from being selfish. Absolutely. Now, I'd like to believe that there were some words I could say to you, to the wise part of you that would say, if you're selfish, then what you are doing is becoming self-absorbed. You won't be able to go back into third person and observe your thoughts and see exactly what they are all about and what they're doing. Selfishness is so important because we relate being selfish to self-preservation. We even relate it to the idea of taking care of ourselves. Where does taking care of myself cross the line into selfishness? It's a big problem that most people have, and they don't know because they're not intuitive, because they don't listen to their heart at all. They're so busy trying to get what they want, thinking that will keep them from death. And death is the biggie. When you start moving into love, there is a certain death that occurs. This death is the death of my identity of myself as an ego, my identity with my thoughts and how I let my thoughts give me identity and actually possess me. People will tell you, oh, love is about bliss and joy and all that. No, it's not. It can be. It'll certainly include all of that eventually. But, it's about a death. The death of everything I have ever believed in and have ever known in my mind through my body that has told me I'm right or good or this is what I should be doing with my life to preserve myself. And because of all of that, I make it very difficult for love to enter into my life. Many years ago, I gave up doing wedding ceremonies. I just couldn't do it anymore. I kept seeing all this pride and selfishness and vanity running around. And I started realizing, this is not the way for me and it's not helping them. There are hundreds of people that can do wedding ceremonies, but very rarely did I do one where the two people were willing to go to the death to find love with each other, which brings me to my story. What do I mean by going to the death? It means whatever it is that has to die in me to make love possible, to make real love possible, I'm willing to do. The story that we are going to look at a little bit here and in my series on CD, it's a story about a woman who had a Buddha that she thought was very special. And she made it special by covering it with gold leaf. Wherever she went, she carried it as a matter of pride. Oh, look at my Buddha. Kind of the way people are who have a great deal of knowledge of Buddhism. And they like to carry it around and say, see, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Buddhist, or I'm a Zenist. And they love telling you all about what they know. So she would carry this around, and she went into a zendo where there were a lot of different Buddhas, and she put her Buddha down with the others, but hers stood out because it was gold. It was more special than all the others. And when they stuck the incense underneath the Buddhas, she didn't think that their incense was good enough for her Buddha. So she made a little funnel out of paper and made the incense kind of float up from the funnel up to the Buddha. In other words, her Buddha got the best fragrance and the best incense, while all the others had the common incense. This is a symbol. This is something I want you to understand. It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for thinking that I'm special because I hold certain ideas, or I have certain beliefs, or I think that I'm special because I have a lot of knowledge about Zen, or I have maybe a lot of knowledge about Buddhism, whatever it is. None of that matters at all. Knowledge means nothing. Love is everything. Do you think Buddha was a Buddhist? Do you think he wanted a Buddhism? Do you think he wanted lamas running around and the Dalai's lamas running around teaching, promoting a religion? It's become a religion. It isn't what it truly was. It's become a religion. And when you're in a religion, you're in a doctrine, you're in a mind, you're in a theory, then it becomes open for everybody and rules have to be made. And before you know it, you're shaving your head, you're wearing the ochre robe, and you're doing all the things that Buddhists do. But are you a Buddhist? And is your temple the best one because it's the one with the most painting all over it or the gold leaf all over it? And do you walk around with your mullah around your neck telling people, oh, look, I'm a Buddhist, I'm special? These are the kind of things that take the spirit out of the meaning of someone like Buddha. The reason people go to church, in my opinion, is because they don't have to really be anything but what they say they are. They don't have to really change. They don't have to bring up their being. They don't have to struggle with love. I remember many years ago I was giving a discourse when I was formerly teaching. And it was very interesting, and the subject was love. And after every discourse, I would let the people who were there in the congregation ask me questions. Whatever they wanted to ask, they could ask. So this one lady talked about love, and she said, don't you think you love your child more than my child? And don't you think that is natural? Which is what the story of the BlackNosed Buddha is all about. Her little Buddha was better than all the other Buddhas, and she could prove it by looking at it and had gold leaf on it, and all the rest didn't. I remember saying this lady, and all my students remember this who were with me, and we'd laugh about it. I said, you know, if you don't love my child as much as you love your child, then you don't love your child at all. People were aghast at that. We've become very clanny, haven't we? It's all about family and covering for each other and backing each other up. You think we're a football team or something. It has nothing to do with that. I had a couple about a year ago come to me who I had married 35 years ago in Santa Barbara, California. And they called me, they found me. They had never forgotten the ceremony I did, which is really rare. I mean, most people don't pay a bit of attention to it when I used to do them. And they said, you know, we've been trying to find you all these years, and we wanted to tell you something. There's a certain part of my ceremony where I talk about that the birth of their relationship will be the death of themselves in many different ways, and they'll be reborn over and over and over again through their relationship. And if there's real love in it, they'll gladly give up pride and vanity and all that other stuff. Well, they called me and said, you know, you were never more right. There were a couple of times where we actually thought we were going to break up, but we remembered what you said about love being a death. And we had to look at ourselves and ask, do I really love that person that I'm married to? Do I find significance in that person? And of course, the answer was yes. She said something very profound to me. She said, it's all about love, Greg. You were right. It's all about whether or not I'm willing to put down what it is I want for love. And that's exactly what this story is all about. Are you willing to let go of all the things you think look like love to you for the sake of discovering and having the direct experience that is love? Most people, no. It's all about staying together because they're afraid to be alone. In our story, the incense would go up. This very special incense that she had bought would go up the funnel, and it would burn the nose of the Buddha and make it particularly ugly. There is nothing uglier than possessiveness. There is nothing uglier than selfishness. My selfishness and my possessiveness make me particularly ugly on the inside. When I live out of that kind of insecurity, it's very hard to find beauty come out. The beauty of what you are. If I'm selfish, and I go into meditation and I try to rationalize how selfish I am. And when I rationalize it, I'm not making it easy for me to meditate. I watch students tell me, oh, well, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. Did you make time for your meditation during your trying of doing this and doing that during the week? No, I did it 2, 3 times. That's the most they can do. And I ask them, what could be more important than centering yourself in meditation, dropping your mind, and letting love live you? What could be more important than that? And they look at me and just shake their head and go, I don't know. We are manic. We are crazy. We don't even know why we think the thoughts we do. We don't even know why we do what we do. And I'll tell you why, even when you're told, avoiding death, avoiding fear. And you know, some part of you knows intrinsically that if you start moving towards an authentic love that lives within you, that death will overtake you. What will that death be? It's a metaphor. I don't know what it'll be. I don't know if it'll be that you'll find that the people that were around you that so supported you in everything that you used to love to be and do, find that you've changed. You're more compassionate. Maybe you're a little more caring. Maybe you're authentic. There is nothing that blows a person away in our life than authenticity. If a person is not authentic, they can be blown away by being authentic, by you being authentic. There is a price to pay to come to love. A very big price to the ego, to my vanity, and to my pride. But if I'm willing to pay that price, if I'm willing to let go of what holds me to my hate, that is when I'm in a very special place. Are you willing to let go of what holds you to your hate? You can make a lifestyle out of hate. Most people do. Their whole life is bent in hate and rationalized hate, which is the most difficult to overcome. But people do. When you come to a practice, you can't be thinking about knowledge. Oh, look at everything I know. Look at how smart I am about everything I know. I've put the pieces together logically and theoretically where you can't argue with me. And for most people, it's all about winning arguments. But in the spiritual practice, it's about decrease. The decrease of my ego. When Jesus gave the Beatitudes, the very first one he gave, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. He started off with humility. He knew the secret of it and the meaning. Thank you for being with me. We're going to go to tension now, and we'll be right back. Namaste. We're here with Tenshin once again, and we're going to talk a little bit about the kind of students that come to him for Zen teaching and training. I got to ask you the question. Would you call Zen a training? Would you call it a discipline? What would you call it? I'm not going to put words in
It's a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How is it different from the way they're living?
Well, intrinsically, not. No, but you know,
Right.
the basic is we all practice something. Here,
Whether we know it or not.
yeah, whether we know it or not. You know, it's usually reliance on thought and thinking our way through life. With Zen practices, doing things over and over to develop mastery, and part of that is looking at the ways that, say, we communicate and we cause suffering, and then ways of reducing that suffering through learning how we misuse our own, you know, ways. Also in terms of how we appreciate the life that we have and the life that's around us, and practicing certain things that are of benefit. You know, in terms of, say, following a path or a religion, is that the Buddha's teachings are a suggested way of life, something to try. If it works for you, do it. If it doesn't work for you, don't do it. So it's more like a scientific experiment than say, seeing what really works, you know, rather than saying you should take on these beliefs or
Right.
wear these clothes. You know, it's just like see the nature of your own life through these experiments and see what happens. So it's like putting on a lens in a certain way. You take on voluntary restriction, which is the discipline, and through that voluntary restriction you learn a lot about your own nature.
What kind of person generally, typically comes to you for Zen training?
Well, there's many different kinds. We get a lot of people that come at changes in their life, you know, rites of passage, divorces, changing career, people that have, say, procrastinated about Zen for a long period of time before they actually get down to do it. We get some very motivated young people that come in.
Do they last long?
We have had a few people, young people, that are very motivated and continued.
What motivates them?
Reducing the suffering in their life and being happier in their existence. You
So
know.
they realize that money isn't going to bring them happiness. Money can't buy you love, as the Beatles said.
Yeah, I'm assuming that. You know, I mean, I found that too. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When a person comes to you, is it usually based on a crisis of some sort, and they're looking for some way to maybe lower the suffering, or are they looking for the meaning to persevere through and find meaning in their life?
Well, I think both those things are true. Some people do have crises, and they come and they found a lot of ways of directly dealing with exactly what's going on with them, and so they can deal from that perspective. We also get people that are directly motivated they see a benefit in meditation in itself, and so they sit and they just follow that path and they learn a lot from it, and then they can apply that to their lives.
What's the benefit of meditation? I've always had kind of difficulty wrestling with that one. Because, you know, whenever you're thinking of benefit, you're thinking about what I'll get for what I do.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, I mean, the thing that if I do it personally is that I see my life a lot clearer. I can see where I'm responsible for things or where others are responsible. You know, I can see that.
But aren't I responsible even if I'm just there?
I don't know. I don't know if the word means that. But,
I don't either.
No. But you know, I mean, a lot of people put the problems of the world, it's not my fault, it's out there, and therefore I have no power. So part of what meditation does is it shows you what power you actually have. And then obviously that's just the starting point. Then you have an opportunity of using it in a way that...
As a way of life?
Yeah, that's conducive with what you really feel in your heart. Yeah.
Do people have a hard time following their heart?
I think most people do. You know?
Yeah. They can't tell the difference between their heart and their head much, can they?
Well, I think that's true.
Yeah.
And then part of that is disentangling that and really seeing what's true.
When you do that with a student, do they find it difficult when finally the detachment happens?
Well, you you're sort of bringing up a point in terms of, say, old teacher and new teacher. When I was a new teacher, I interfered a lot.
And as
I'd really push them. I wait until they're ripe. And then I, maybe say something that really affects them, and when they can take it. Yeah. And then, they can see the natural separation of those problems. Thing. Yeah.
That's really wonderful. It's wonderful. I love this.
So I just get lazier.
They get lazier.
No, I get lazier.
Oh, you get lazier. As their teacher, you get a little lazier.
Let them do the work, because then they gain the strength.
Yeah.
Because if I do the work for them, they never really get the strength.
Thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We'll be right back. The BlackNosed Buddha. It's all about being special, and everybody wants to be better than the other person. It's insane. I was doing some hospice work recently, which I do from time to time to help people. There was this man who was very touching to me. He was in his late 80s, and he was leaving his body. And as he was leaving, he was talking to me about a lot of different things. And he said to me, when you're leaving, when you know you're dying and you don't have a future, it really changes the way you think. It changes the way you experience everything. I know, I understand that. And he said, then when you look back at your past and you see all of the crazy things you've done, the things that looked sensible to you but now look very foolish. He said, I can see I wasted my life on a lot of things. I asked him, what did you waste your life on? And he looked at me and he said, I thought I knew what love was. I really did. He said, I told people I loved them. I told everyone I loved them, so they'd tell me back that they loved me. He said, I was afraid to believe that no one loved me and I had to belong somewhere. So he said, I just wanted to know that people loved me. And now he said, I find out I don't love me. This love thing is very important. Love requires a certain selflessness, a certain level of mercy, compassion that most people aren't much interested in. The development of us spiritually is not very important, and combined with what we think of as having a good portfolio, maybe looking good in old age and getting the facelifts and all of that done, and having the things we want, having a comfortable retirement. It seems like being comfortable is more important to us than living. And that's very sad. This man who, when he left his body, left with a whimper, not a bang. He cried. He could see that the whole thing was about him, selfishness, pride, trying to get what he wanted to reassure himself that he was valuable. I have friends like that. I have students like that. You may be like that. You don't want to go into this. You want to develop, to do the things that are difficult, as Lotso said, before they become impossible. That is a very wise statement that he gave us. Do the difficult before it becomes impossible. This kind of act, this kind of insight that I just shared with you is being selfless. As I said at the close of the last segment, when Jesus talked about being poor in spirit, this isn't things that people think about. I mean, how many of you think in terms of being poor in spirit? You don't wake up in the morning and go, by cracky, it's a great day to be poor in spirit today. I don't think so. You want to be powerful. You want to hold power. You want to master things. You want to guide the boat. You want to tell people who you are, where you are, and what you are, so they have no qualms with you. But I say it's about being merciful enough and selfless enough to let love live you. That's really what we're about. It doesn't matter what people think of you. No matter what, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter what you think of you. No matter what, it doesn't matter. What matters? Do you have the compassion to forgive? Do you have the mercy to hear people and to help them when they need help without the idea of being a good person or getting something in return? Can you forgive? Can you release and let go? Can you realize I know not what I do. Can you see all the things that we do in a course of a lifetime that have brought us to a certain measure of fear and hate, maybe even feeling ashamed of ourselves, like the man did that I was working with in the hospice? You can't take that away from someone. You just can't. The best I can do in that situation is whisper in his ear, and I told him this just before he left his body: you are love. You are love. He squeezed my finger before he left, like he understood, and then let go. That is a very meaningful moment. Don't leave this earth thinking in terms that whatever you've accomplished in the world is meaningful. It isn't. Take with you those things that you have within you through death, and take them with love and compassion. The only thing you can take with you through death is love. You can't take your mind, you can't take your body, you can't take your memories, and you can't take your family. You can't take your possessions. Live for those things that you can take with you through death. And don't be fooled by the image, the illusions and the delusions of owning and having and keeping and hoarding and getting what you want. You're not a better person because you got what you want. You're a much more interesting person if you can let go of what you have. And most people don't give that much of a consideration. The world is the way the world is, not because it is evil or bad, not because you are evil or bad. It is the way it is, violent and corrupt and filled with misunderstanding, because we have forgotten. We've disowned our spiritual life. We've disowned our heart. And we've made love a matter of priority of our selfishness and not our intuition. We look at love as something that we're entitled to and not as the nature of. You are a living example of the meaning of life, and I hope that you will consider it deeply. Please forgive me. Namaste. We're here with Tenzin. We're going to be talking.
Start again. It sounded like you said Tenzin.
What did I say?
He did 10 cent. Yeah.
Yeah, didn't I say tension?
No.
Yes, sir.
Don't screw around, will you? I'm going to kick your butt later. Sorry. We're here with the dude, man.
Yeah. Well, Charles is fine too.